Good day, everyone. This is Woman to Woman, and I'm your host, Miss Nene.
And I'm your host, Lisa.
Today, we're going to talk about ADD and ADHD.
So let's talk about it. Today, we have a guest, Monica Wayne. I'm going to give you a little bit of her background. Monica Demper Wayne moved to Riverside, California with her parents just before turning 10 years old. Monica is a disabled Gulf War veteran. She served in the United States Army. Prior to going to the Army, Monica had a Bachelor's of Arts degree in psychology and worked with at-risk youth ages through the community-based programs, the group homes, and the children were 0 to 17 who didn't do well in the foster care setting. After serving in the military, Monica completed her Master's of Arts in Counseling at Webster University and a master's degree in accounting from American Intercontinental University. Monica worked as a mental health therapist for 9 years, working for a community health agency and a foster care agency. In both settings, she established home-based therapeutic programs for children with mental health diagnosis and behavior problems. Some of the diagnoses she has worked with in children are ADHD, ADD, bipolar disorder, and conduct disorder. Monica has also worked with children with parents that have had mental health diagnoses, domestic violence, and substance abuse. Monica is a certified Triple P, Positive Parenting Program. Monica has recently started her own company to working with children and adults with disabilities. So, welcome, Monica.
Welcome.
All right, so ADD, my child got it. I don't know where it came from. I know my husband got it, so he gonna need some counseling.
That's so wrong.
He gonna need some counseling. So the definition, you want to give us the definition of ADD or ADHD, or you want me to read it from what I have here?
Go ahead.
Okay, so it says that it is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition. ADHD is typically diagnosed as one of these three presentations. You have combined, which is inattentive, hyperactive, and impulsive. Then you have inattentive only, which is formerly known as attention deficit disorder. That's what my child has. Then you have hyperactive and impulsive.
Wait a minute. That's two different?
It's three different ones. You got the combined that have them all.
No, it's three different types of ADD?
Yes.
Oh.
There's three different types. You have the attentive, and the attentive is, the attentive is inattentive, which is used to be called ADD, is the hyperactive and the combined.
I thought that was ADHD.
Oh no, that's ADHD. Attentive is it includes daydreaming, right? Okay. Daydreaming, disorganization, and careless mistakes. Okay. Then you have the hyper impulsive, which is fidgeting, nonstop talking, impatience, and impatience.
Okay. And impulsivity.
Right, because Randy is impulsive, always talking, can't focus.
Fidgeting.
And fidgeting.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's fidgeting
with his
too.
hair.
He's fidgeting too. Yeah, exactly.
So, there are a couple of things in dealing with the three. A lot of times what we find in the school system is that they'll say, because they're inattentive, that they're hyper.
Exactly.
Okay? And although Randy is inattentive, he's not hyper.
Right.
Okay.
So that's why they gave him ADD
Right.
instead of ADHD.
Okay.
Because you can fidget, you can daydream, you can't focus, you're unorganized. Those are common across the board.
Okay.
Okay? But one thing that the school system has done, and those of us who've worked in the mental health field has had to come against with the school system, is according to the DSM-5, and one of the major changes that changed between the DSM-4 and the DSM-5.
What's the DSM?
The DSM is the Diagnosis of Mental disorders.
Okay.
Mental health disorders.
Okay.
And so it was, there's a recent revision to the DSM-5. And the major change that it did is they focus on it must occur in more than one setting.
So that means home, school,
home and school,
activity,
community and school.
Okay.
It can't be just at school
or at home
or just
when
at
you're
home.
bored doing
It's supposed to be in more than one
Okay.
setting. However, when the school system and the teachers are referring these children into special education evaluations for ADHD or hyperactivity, they're not even, what's supposed to happen is there's a questionnaire that goes home to the parents. There's a questionnaire if they play sports that goes to the coach. And all of them fill it out.
Right.
And if they show the same
symptoms
across the board, then
Then they
yes,
can
that
proceed.
is true, quote unquote, true ADHD.
Okay.
Or ADD. When it's just happening in one or the other setting, it's not, quote unquote, true ADHD. For example, when you have people with depression, what is the main things that we see with people with depression? They can't focus. They have a lack of energy. Instead of being hyper, they have a lack of energy.
Right.
Okay. So there's they can't focus. That's the inattentive. They're not hyper.
Right.
They're inattentive. They can't focus. They lack of energy. They're unorganized, and they can't concentrate.
And they sad.
Okay. But they don't focus on the sad in the school system because
Correct.
they can't counsel the sad. Okay.
Unbelievable.
So they just address all the other symptoms. So what I have seen is kids come to me with special ed diagnosis that says they're ADHD, and then when I do the mental health assessment based on the DSM-4, that they have anxiety or they have depression. I've had kids who've had PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and they all have some of the symptoms of ADHD. Even auditory processing disorder has similar symptoms as ADHD. But the interventions that you use for each of those disorders won't work with a kid with ADHD. So that's how we get kids who are in special ed and they're unsuccessful in making gains because the intervention doesn't match what's really going on.
So the schools is all out of line and don't know what they're doing. So why wouldn't they just get it together and make sure that the intervention match that particular child? Because then that's too much, huh?
Most of the time, the teachers are not trained in that.
Yeah, this I know. That I know. I said that.
The teachers are trained to teach a subject.
Right.
They are not trained, and I was in a workshop with the several school districts within the Riverside County Schools last week. That's why I couldn't be here last week. And what they're now putting in the requirements for special ed teachers is how to work with kids with various mental health disorders. But this is just starting with students that are going for their teaching credential now.
In 2016. And how long has this been going on?
So my question in the meeting was, that's great that you're addressing this with new teachers. But what training are you giving the older teachers, the teachers that's been here for 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Oh, that's not the problem. The problem is with new teachers. I said, excuse me, one more time. My daughter is in the 11th grade at Poly High School. She has had one brand new teacher, first year teacher, in her whole educational career.
Wow.
She's only had one. So if you training new teachers and not training old teachers on how to deal with this, we're still going to miss the boat.
Correct. Exactly.
Right.
So I pose that as an issue that needs to be addressed. Currently, they are doing a lot to help minority children, because we're back in the setting of before affirmative action, where only 25% of blacks was going to college. And after affirmative action, we hit 60%, we
Right.
hit 70%.
Right.
Well, we're back down to 25.
Right. Well, yeah, they took affirmative action away.
Correct, but they took affirmative action away because they said we didn't need it anymore. We were
Correct.
able to compete.
But we're not.
Okay, so now truth be told is revealing itself in the numbers.
Exactly.
So there are several initiatives that's go out now to address some of the issues that's been going on for years. One of the issues that one of the workshops that I went to was addressing African American males in special education.
Okay.
The special education was originally for, as far as those with learning deficits or attention deficits, or was to get them flooded with the resources and the intervention so they can go back to mainstream.
Correct.
What has happened with special education, unfortunately, and this was brought up by one of the male principals in the district, that they get in special ed and they're stuck
Right.
and they never exit out.
Exactly.
So
right.
So they're now addressing that, there's numbers that are off the charts where you see high representation of African Americans and more African American males than females. Then and close second is the same thing happening with the Hispanic community. And so now they're addressing it. Why are we seeing this? We're also seeing that the numbers that are showing up in the Caucasian community is socioeconomic based.
Of course it is.
So now they're starting to address the issue that it's not just race, it's socioeconomics too.
Yes, it is.
And however, there's a reason to not improve the situation based
Why?
on socioeconomics or based on race. Because if we get Title I funding for the number of kids that we have in these programs, or the number of kids that we have under a certain income level, we get more money than the student who's from a middle class or upper class.
This is true.
Okay, so it was not a motivation to fix it because we got
That's
more
the money.
money for them being there.
But yet they don't do the right thing with the money.
So now what they've done, and this is a statewide initiative for California, is there's called an Equity in Excellence program, that they're trying to not make things equal, but that the equity of that education is what the person needs. What
Right.
you need, yes, this is the standards that we got to get, but what you need and how you need it might be different than how you need it. And so how do we balance that out so that our kids can be successful? Because it's not only impairing them in school, it's impairing them when
For
they
life.
get out of school and for
Exactly.
life. They're not
Exactly.
prepared for vocation college. They're not prepared for vocational schools. They're not prepared for workforce.
Right. And this curriculum is not helping either. Core is horrible.
Well, there's two problems with Common Core. Number one, the teachers weren't trained before they were required
Exactly.
to teach.
They just threw it on.
They're trained.
No, they don't equip them properly.
Right. So that's deficit number one. They're learning it while they're trying to teach it to the
Right.
kids.
Exactly.
That's problem number one. Problem number two is, in my opinion, they should have started Common Core with the kindergarten.
Exactly. Because that's where you're starting, so it wouldn't
then
matter.
they would have the same thing
Exactly.
through their entire education.
Exactly.
Not where our kids have been taught one way.
Right.
And now you're going to tell them that's wrong.
In the middle. And
Now, this is the way you're supposed to do it.
And expect them to just get it like that.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, it's a difference of 1 year.
What do you mean?
Last year, Common Core entered high school in Riverside Unified School District.
Right.
And because my daughter was in the 10th grade, I was able to say, I don't want her to have Common Core. She needs to finish her math the regular way.
Okay.
But if she was in the 9th grade, they didn't have a choice. 9th graders
Because
did
Common Core started when Randy
they was
in
in
Central.
middle school. Right.
Right,
Because they
exactly.
introduced it in middle school. But she was leaving middle school when it said, this is the go year.
Right.
Wow.
So she missed it by 1 year.
So-
And they asked to put her in there, and I was like, no, we're not going through. 2 plus 2 does not always equal 4. It might equal 5. we not doing
So we
that.
don't know right now.
We not doing that. I can't help her with her homework if we go 2 plus 2 equals
Okay.
5. You know, and that's what our parents in all communities are dealing with now is
Yes.
that this is the way you learned and the way your kid is learning. You can't help your kid.
No,
You know, and to me, history is repeating itself.
it is.
Because when I was in elementary school, they changed the math. I don't remember what it was called. But my parents had a hard time with me in math because they taught it. It was the new math.
Different. Right. The same
You know,
with this.
yeah.
I had to go back to school to learn. Well, not back to school, but the teachers at Randy's Elementary at Promenade in Corona taught a week course on the new math. And I'm sitting there like, why am I in the classroom learning math to help my child with his
Right.
homework?
I would have
There's a problem
to
here.
YouTube problem solving. I'm like, oh,
Now, what's the difference in ADHD and ADD and bipolar?
Okay. Before I answer that question, now, we're just talking about the Common Core math issue.
Okay.
Okay, let's say your kid is frustrated because they learned math this way, and now they're doing poorly on tests
Right.
because they don't understand this Common Core, and they're like, "Here we go again," and they start daydreaming because they're frustrated.
Right. That's what mine does.
They're inattentive. This is what we're up against. They're inattentive.
That's what
they're
it
not
does.
able to focus, and now they're performing poorly in school because they're not concentrating.
I guess
Exactly.
a setup.
And it's
It is. It
it's
does.
just a vicious
That's
cycle.
what it seems to me.
It's a
like.
vicious cycle.
I told Polly, your teachers are not equipped. You guys are not equipped to handle the situation, and all you want to do is keep sending my child to this discipline office. No, there's a problem, and we need to deal with it. They don't know how to deal with it. They want to send you to the discipline office. They want to suspend you, and after so many suspensions, then they want to expel you. Excuse me?
Right.
You are
Where
there to
is
help the child.
Where is the prevention
Correct.
and the intervention? We're dealing with punishment.
Exactly.
We're not dealing with an intervention.
Exactly.
So, Poly High School has a new discipline principal.
Oh, really?
Yes.
All
I don't know the
right.
name. But
All right.
we have a new discipline principal. I found out a couple of days ago.
You did that.
So, but Lisa, you're absolutely right. It's suspend, expel. They're gone.
Yeah.
However, the kid is still not empowered to
Exactly.
be productive
Exactly.
in life. So, We have to do things ourselves as getting involved as parents
Exactly.
in order to ensure that our kids get what they need, whether they're diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, or they don't have a diagnosis, but they're just going through school. We have to make sure that our children are getting what they need. The difference between...
Wait a minute. Before you answer that, I got another question.
Okay.
Why does it take so long to be diagnosed with ADHD or ADD?
Because the school system is not supposed to diagnose, number one.
Right. I'm talking about through the regular physician. I've been screaming since my child was in kindergarten.
Okay. Because it's a misunderstanding and the belief of who should handle it is, and there are some cultural fears in who actually should be the one that handles it. Okay. As African Americans, we are not the ones that go to counseling.
Exactly. And we definitely don't want to see no psychiatrist.
That's what I was getting ready to say. We definitely don't want to see no psychiatrist. And especially is he white, because he don't understand what I've been through.
Exactly.
Okay. So if we have that as our belief system and our cultural bias, the real person who could have diagnosed your kid at 5 was the psychiatrist.
But why the pediatrician didn't send me to, because this is what they used to tell me.
It depends on your insurance.
Well, that makes sense too.
It depends on your insurance. For example, Kaiser Hospital, you don't have to see a physician to get a diagnosis.
Right. You just go to the clinic.
ADHD. You go to the ADHD clinic.
Exactly.
Okay, how you just got an ADHD clinic?
There's so many kids out there with it.
But they this is just my opinion. They give the diagnosis out like it's candy.
I was gonna ask how many missed.
Now, just like now, if you pay attention to the news, 15, 20 years ago, they were giving out ADHD diagnoses like it was candy. Now, the candy diagnosis is autism.
True. That has been on the rise.
It has been on
for
an
years.
Extreme rise.
This is true.
An extreme rise.
Yes.
Talking about 2 out of 5 kids have autism.
That's
really?
unbelievable. Yes.
Really? Because they don't socially engage the same way? Why would they? They have the iPhone.
All this technology.
All of this technology that we encourage, tablets and video games, that they are not a social people.
Yeah, that's the generation we dealing with.
Right.
Yeah.
They the ones that are more social are the ones that's been involved in sports. But if you didn't go and be involved in sports, most of those are not socially engaged. Why? Because when we grew up, I remember when they brought the first computer in my high school. Okay.
I know. It looked like a big old box.
It sure did. Okay, and now it's flat and it's this big. It's like, really, we came from this to this, However, these kids can't imagine.
No. They can't.
What it was like to go to the library and have to use the index file card system.
To look for a book.
They can't, we don't
That is so true.
We don't have to know how to alphabetize. We just ask Siri.
Okay, exactly.
We ask Google.
This is true.
We need to learn how to translate in Spanish. We go Google Translate.
Exactly.
Okay? We got to have the teacher tell you cannot use Google Translate. What?
This is true.
And so these kids are socially impaired because they have not had to engage in society. And then when we say, oh my God, they're about to graduate from high school and they're going to have to work in society, and they're not ready. So then we put a tag on them because they're behind. So the whole system has to be really re-looked at. There are some initiatives currently that, especially with African American families, there's each school district has, and is required to have by the state, an African American Parent Advisory Council.
Okay.
Yeah.
I advise every African American parent. I don't care if your child is Mexican and black, if your child is white and black, if your child is Asian and black.
They black.
Go. Go.
Yeah.
Don't just say, oh, it's only for the all black kids. No, it's not. No, it's not. I have found out so much information just by going to these meetings of things that are changing. Okay, of things that are coming out now, of things that they're addressing. Like, for example, we're dealing with ADHD and ADD. Right. Well, the school system has decided, because they have not done in one or more settings, the school system has now been they have been putting kids in special ed with situational ADHD or 6-hour ADHD.
What
so
does that mean?
That means they only ADHD while they're in the school setting situation. Or the 6 hours they at school.
That don't even make any sense.
Well, it keeps them in special ed.
You're ADHD wherever you at. Home,
if
school.
It's true ADHD,
yes.
You are ADHD in every setting.
But why are they giving them situational settings? Is it a money thing? What is that about? And why isn't the parent...
It's trying to validate that.
Keeping your child.
To keep them in special ed.
But why wouldn't the parent question that?
Because
a lot of parents don't know their rights.
They don't know.
I know. I had to go to task. Now, that's another thing we got to get into. Some organizations that you can...
Exactly. And the Family Family Resource Center.
Yes.
Okay. Those with significant disabilities, they get Inland Regional Center as a kid.
Okay.
And Inland Regional Center caseworkers can go to their IEPs.
Right.
Okay. And they help with their learning situations. Okay. However, when your kid does not meet qualifications to be an Inland Regional Center client, who do you have that can go with you to your IEP? Who do you have that can give you information or knowledge to know what your rights are, to know what fits and doesn't fit?
Right.
Lisa asked me to attend her son's IEP last year.
Yes.
And they said, okay, we're going to make this go 3 months, and we're going to do this intervention for 3 months, and everything's going to be fine. I said, Lisa, that doesn't work. She said, why? I said, because in 3 months, it's going to be June.
Yeah, school's out.
And school's going to be out. And we're not going to get feedback on how the intervention worked.
To this year, the next school year.
We're never going to get it. Because those were with his teachers last year, with his subjects last year. And this year, he's in a different grade with different teachers with different subjects. So we're never going to know how it affected him at that point in time.
So they playing games and not giving you the information that you truly need.
So I asked her to get progress reports, because that's the only way that you're going to get the information right now. Because even if the follow up was in May, that teacher is not going to remember how he responded the first week, the second week, the third week.
Exactly.
When on week 12 we had the IEP. What that teacher's going to come in, and we all do it. I've done it too. You go with the most urgent issues.
Right.
This morning he was like this. Last Friday he was like this. Okay, but what happened in January? I don't even remember.
Right.
Unless I kept a journal.
Exactly.
I can't tell you. So I told Lisa, get weekly progress reports, because that's going to give you the feedback on how when they put that intervention in place, how did he respond to the intervention?
Poorly.
If the intervention worked, if it didn't work, then we're supposed to go back to the drawing board and say it didn't work.
That's what we'll be doing.
So what we got to, how do we tweak this? We don't keep the same intervention going.
Right.
Because, now we're in a new school system, and that was the last intervention on the IEP, so that's the intervention we're going to do. Well, we knew 3 months at the end of the school year it didn't work.
But that's what they try to do. They try to keep the same intervention going.
Absolutely.
Because I knew nothing about the IEP till Monica came along, taught me a lot. Then I went to a couple of these meetings at Task that you had already taught me a lot, but I still learned a lot from them because they need to help your child get ready for it. They have like an exit program.
Right.
And I didn't know nothing about that. But when he was at Central, when they finally tested him, it's like pulling teeth to even get the school to test your child for one. So
there's a reason for that though.
Why?
Because of cultural differences, and this was back in the 70s that this law was put into place, that African Americans cannot be given an IQ test.
Yes, I know about that, and that's stupid too.
Okay, because we weren't exposed to the same things socially. So it was an unfair bias test that we would automatically fail because we weren't exposed to the same thing socially.
Right, so they said.
So they haven't revisited the situation and
Right.
said that now we have more African American families that are in middle class, that their kids are being exposed to this. We have less African American families living in the ghettos and the projects. We haven't addressed the African American families that live in non-inner city areas.
Right.
It's just a blanket.
It's
Just a blanket. So that's why the African American Parent Advisory Group is so important, because they are allowing the parents to give a voice to what is it that you need. We know the system is broke. We need your feedback on what it is that you need and that you want. And right now we have a window of opportunity to say everything that we think we need and that we think we want.
Right.
Okay. We have Riverside Unified School District is the only school district in the Inland Empire. Well, I wouldn't say in the Inland Empire. I would say in Riverside County plus San Bernardino City that does not have a agreement with the junior college where they can complete a certification or their ADHD and their high school diploma at the same time.
Wow.
Why is Riverside the only one that isn't done that? If all the other districts under the same county schools
is doing it.
Why
that's a
isn't
good
Riverside
question.
So you know what we have to do? We have to say, we want that.
Right.
As long as we don't express we want it, they're not going to give it to us.
Exactly.
You know why? Because that means that they got to put some money over there.
But it's our money in the first place.
Right.
It's our money in the first place. So that's just unbelievable. Okay, well, as always, we can't always get down to the meat and potatoes, but I know an organization's called Task, and then what you said the other organization was?
Riverside Unified School District has a family resource center on Magnolia Avenue, and they offer a lot of support to the parents of just about every situation. And they are the group that oversees the African American Parent Advisory Council. They are also a part of the Parent Parent Institute of Quality Education. It's called PK. Now PK is another program. I've always been an active parent. I just found out about it a couple of weeks ago. They have their own list of scholarships.
Really? PK. Okay.
Okay. They have their own list of scholarships that kids can get. And they don't know.
Right.
Right. And so the thing is, the Word of God says that our people perish for a lack of knowledge.
Yes, ma'am.
And so the thing that we have to be advocates for is to get rid of that lack of knowledge.
Exactly. And parents, it's rough because I'm going through it, and it's a lot going through it, and it's new to me, but you just have to try to educate yourself. You can go to the different counties. You know, you can call around. You can go on the internet. You'll find information, and you definitely have to be involved at the schools because they will give you the runaround. I'm just going to give this real quick. His caseworker called me and tried to cover theirself because they put him in 2 regular classes. And I said, oh, yeah, I saw that. Well, he's doing great right now, so I just need you to sign this form because the special education department is going to be audited. I said, it's 1 week to school. You want me to sign a form saying that he can stay in that class? I can't tell how well he's doing in a week. No, thank you. I can't cover your butt. I'm sorry. I need to cover my child's butt. How about that? So here's the word of the day, people. If you can't feed 100 people, then just feed 1. All right. Have a great day.
Have a good day.